Which is getting closer to
Full Town Council will call to order. Please join me with me in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our trespasses and bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive others who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Please join me in the pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. First up, we have a public hearing on church bells and chimes. There's a proposed amendment to section 34-25 of the Crewe Town Code. Specifically, it is proposed that the code be amended to allow church bells or chimes for specific events or specific times. The Crewe Town Council in the town of Crewe and the town of Crewe Planning Commission will hold a public hearing on April 8, 2019 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter. It may be held at the Crewe Library and Conference Center. The Town Council will take public comment regarding the proposed amendment to section 34-25 of the Crewe Town Code. Specifically, it is proposed that the code be amended in the following language: church bells or chimes. Sounds generated by church bells and chimes during regular church services, during funerals held at the church, at the chiming of the hours of noon and 6 p.m., during weddings held at the church, and the playing of hymns, no longer than 1 minute, are exempt from this ordinance. Interested persons may appear at the aforementioned time and place to present their views. It's been duly advertised. Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this issue? Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this issue? Is there anyone that wishes to speak on this issue? Very good. All right. Hearing none, this public hearing is closed. I need a motion? No. Okay. At this time, we go to delegations from the public, which will be followed by citizens' comments. We have invited Senator Frank Ruff and Delegate Tommy Wright, our representatives in the House, or Senate and the House respectively, to give us an update on the 2019 General Assembly and say anything else they wish to say. Tom? Mr. Wright? Delegate Wright.
First, let me say that I appreciate the way that the town council opens the meeting with prayer and pledge of allegiance to the flag. In the General Assembly, we do the same thing. And so I don't see the reason why I should be done right here. And I congratulate you on doing so. And I want to say good evening to everybody. Appreciate the opportunity to serve you. And we had a very good session this time. I like to describe it as managed chaos. On one side, you had some chaotic things happening. The General Assembly was determined and focused on the business at hand. And I think we wound up with a very good session. We were 1 day late adjourning. That was due to a rule involving the budget and the advertising of the budget. We ended with a balanced budget. We had tax conformity with the federal government, no tax increases, and some tax refunds. So I think that as far as that goes, we did very good. And I know Frank will have more to say about the budget as far as the Senate Finance Committee and so forth is involved later. There are some issues that I want to discuss with you tonight as well. One of the things you probably heard the most about was the third trimester partial birth abortion. This was debated in committee, and Delegate Tran from Fairfax introduced the legislation. And basically, even while the mother is in labor, under questioning, she admitted that her bill would permit an abortion, even when the mother was in labor. And this was not acceptable. And the subcommittee voted it down. And I think that's one of the pieces of legislation that I heard more about than any other during the entire session. It was an issue that was backed strongly by the Family Foundation. And the Family Foundation is, the main goal is traditional family values and protecting the unborn. That's something I stand firmly on, and I'm proud to have been named the Legislator of the Year by the Family Foundation in 2018. Another issue that came up this time was a bill that was introduced that would allow localities to take down memorials to our war veterans and statues and monuments. There's a lot of discussion about that, and that bill was defeated in committee as well. That's another bill that we heard a lot of discussion about, took a lot of public comment on, and I'm pleased to say that bill was defeated. Another issue that's plaguing our state and nation is opioid abuse. And part of the problem is we don't feel that the punishment is severe enough for the people that are providing the opioids. And for instance, one of the main things with drug dealers, for instance, if they provide drugs to a person and then walk around the corner, that person takes the drugs and drops dead, there's no felony charge, homicide. The way the law is now, if you provide that drug to a person and they die, you're responsible, and responsible for a homicide. And so that's something I think is very important. There were some that disagree with that. And the argument they were given was really not very substantial. They were saying, suppose it's the family members that take drugs together and you give one to another. Well, you know, we need to discourage that kind of behavior. You certainly shouldn't be giving them to friends and relatives as far as that goes either. Another issue that came up that's affecting rural Virginia are solar farms. And I'm not sure whether it's been an issue here in Nottoway, very much or not, but I heard a lot. Unfortunately, it was getting towards the end of the time when you could introduce legislation. But I was asked by several localities in my district to introduce legislation that would change a tax preference for solar farms. They get a tremendous tax break on the personal property taxes. And that's making it tough for the localities. And so I introduced legislation to sunset that bill at the end of 2020. It would end in 2024. Well, by then, most of these solar farms will be in place. Well, I found out what it was like to be fighting the large lobbyists, and that bill was not successful. It didn't pass, but we gave it a good try. I think it had one good happening, though, and that was the localities banded together. You know, in the past, we were kind of all, you know, one way and one the other, and I think they will take a real hard look at these solar farms and ways that they can either make it profitable for the locality or find ways of denying them permits to come. Now, I believe in people having a right to sell their land and so forth, leaving landowner's rights. But the solar farms, as far as I can see, I can't see where it's any benefit hardly to the community at all. It has problems as far as not providing revenue, and then who's responsible at the end of the life cycle of these huge solar farms, some of them hundreds of acres. Who's going to be responsible if that company is going broke, for instance, or removing what's left of the solar farm, the materials? So that's one that is going to require some further work. And in response to some of the school shootings that's been unfortunately witnessed across the country in the last several years, the governor, the Speaker of the House of Delegates formed the House Select Committee on School Safety. It's the first time a select committee has been formed in 150 years. That's how seriously the Speaker took this issue. We worked on it over the summer, and I was pleased to be appointed to that committee. And we came out with numbers of recommendations, and several of which actually received funding through the budget, and to the tune of over $11 million. And it would be no unfunded mandates for the localities. That's one of the things that we insisted on. But the goal is to increase the school resource officers, school counselors, and the services. And one of the things, you know, is to try to hit a problem off before it takes place. A lot of these unfortunate incidences, when you look back after it's taken place, there were signs. Either it was a person that was in the school system that was having problems and maybe was trying to reach out, nobody was there to help, whatever reason, but part of it has to do with mental illness and the problems that young people need to have places they can go to and talk to people, to address some of the problems they have before it gets to a point like this. So that was something that I thought was very important. Also, there are issues of tobacco, gambling, and alcohol. Now, that's a combination. The age on purchasing a cigarette went from 18 to 21, and they're talking about legalizing marijuana. So I don't believe that smoking is good for you. There's no question about that, and I think if people smoking, they'll quit. But raising the age limit to 21, I think a person that can go in service and tell them they can't buy a pack of cigarettes, that's a little, I think a little bit much, even though the goal is good, and we need to stop the youngsters from starting smoking, and the vaping problem is terrible. That's been in our school systems now, that's practically an epidemic, so that's something that needs to be addressed. And on alcohol, the law has been changed now on Sunday in some stores where you can sell alcohol at 10 o'clock in the morning. I was against the Sunday alcohol sales period, but they've lowered the hours now, thinking that a few extra bucks they're going to bring in is really going to help. But I don't know, I didn't agree with that. Also, it's when when alcohol was allowed to be sold by the drink, you know, the localities had to pass a referendum in order to have that. And some localities were opposed to it. But you had areas located along an interstate, or for whatever reason they thought it would be a big economic boon for them to be able to sell alcohol by the drink, and they would come to the General Assembly to try to get permission, whereas the locality didn't want it. Well, they went a step further this time. The way it used to be, a county would have to pass a referendum if they wanted to have alcohol by the drink. Now, you have to pass a referendum if you don't want to have alcohol by the drink. Virginia is a wet state, and that's due to this last legislature. I didn't agree with that at all. I mean, it's taking the rights away from the localities, all because of lobbyists at big companies and areas who think it's going to help them economically. They don't think about what happens to people that are addicted to alcohol, and this goes right along with the gambling. I mentioned three: alcohol, tobacco, and gambling. There was a bill introduced to legalize casino gambling and sports gambling in the Commonwealth of Virginia, and that was driven by the cities of Martinsville, Danville, and Portsmouth, along with you know, the Indian tribes, Indian nations that can now do that under certain circumstances. After much discussion, there was a lot of pressure put on, but we decided to do a study of that. So J-Log is going to do a study to see what some of the consequences will be. And we already know one of the first things you have to do is gear up for gambling addiction. You know, so that's something that's going to be coming back next year following the J-Log study. There's a good chance that will pass, but I'll not be in favor of it. I also want to mention that the Speaker asked me this year to be chairman of the Militia, Police, and Public Safety Committee. And I had served as chairman of the subcommittee, which handled mainly Second Amendment items and other items as well. So I was pleased to take that assignment on, and I believe in the Second Amendment rights. I think you've got a right to defend yourself, and I think that it's something that's very important. You have a right to be safe in your own home, and to pass your weapons and guns and so forth on to family members. some of the bills that come before these committees, they want to have it so if you give a gun to your son, he's got to go through a background check. And so, it's a lot of bills out there that try to really control, how firearms are transferred, just your ability to even have one. Another issue that's got a lot of attention is industrial hemp. And I'll close on this one, because I'm going to give Frank plenty of time. Industrial hemp now is, the state of Virginia has conformed its law with the federal farm bill. That's the first step down the road. But we've got to go through a lot of hurdles, cross a lot of different avenues to really make this successful. When you see the effect of tobacco on this region, and as the contracts are coming out this year, a lot of farmers are being cut 30%, some more, on what they can grow. It's having a dramatic impact on the farmers. So we're hoping that hemp can be something that the farm community can take a on, and that we'll have to see. There's no place currently close by that you can have it processed. It needs to be manufacturing set up and for it. But it's something that I think it's got promising. And I think a lot of farmers are really getting extremely interested in it. And the agriculture department is taking it seriously. And so I think this is something that hopefully we can develop into a sustainable crop that will help replace the loss of the cash crop of tobacco in our Commonwealth. And at this time, I'll turn it over to my colleague, Senator Ruff. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tommy. You did such a good job, there's nothing for me to say, so bye. I try to forget what happened in the session as I look in the rear view mirror. And the longer away from that, the more I forget. This morning at 7:30 in Danville, we had a Chamber of Commerce breakfast, and so they reminded me of a few things. And one of the questions was, tell us one or two things you agree with the governor on, and a couple of things you disagree with the governor on. And so I said, well, I had a little bill that dealt with health insurance, and he thought it was such a great deal that he added an emergency clause so that it went into effect immediately. And that is, if you get let's take cancer for instance, if you get a reading that you have something in your lung, the doctor wants to find out how quickly that cancer is growing. The insurance company wants to delay the process as much as possible. So they will say, you can't have a comparison for 6 or 8 months. Well, the doctor may say, 3 months, we need to see how fast it's growing, what we need to do. So that passed, and I was delighted with that. The things that we disagree on were a little more complicated. And back, if you think about last December, the governor was releasing for the budget all these great stories about all these great things he was going to do. Then there were some great things: 5% teachers raise, $50 million for broadband, this, that, and the other thing. Well, then the budget came out, it was printed, and we got it. And we realized that what he was doing was going to spend money that we really had not planned on. The growth for the state last year, because of the Trump tax changes, was dynamic. We grew $1.5 billion. That's a lot of money for 1 year. But in that process, it also put money into the state coffers to the tune of almost $1 billion for the 2-year cycle. And so he was planning to spend that money. Actually, he was going to spend it for the next 5 years, but we had to explain to him we can't do that. But I think ethically, that's wrong. I think if there is a need for tax increase, you need to stand up and argue it and debate it and if you get a majority, you increase the taxes. But to take these money that were coming because the federal level cut taxes was wrong. I mean, it was just wrong in concept, so we didn't accept that. The House tried to get the jump on us. They came up with something, Tom is not part of that, it was the money committees that had this great idea to give it back in some fashion, but we couldn't figure out what they were doing. So 5 of us got together and said, okay, how are we gonna do this? And we said, okay, if we double the standard deduction next year, we'll be back in sync. If we give taxpayers, if it's a single taxpayer, $110 back later this year, and $220 if it's a couple or family, then we will have taken that money that was gotten because of the federal tax cuts and brought it back to the people who paid. The governor had proposed giving the biggest chunk of that to people who had not paid taxes and an earned tax credit. The problem was we just did not believe that was the right way to do it. We needed to give the money back to the taxpayers who had paid. So that will be coming back to you as we go forward. The budget, Tommy kind of smoothed over the rugged thing about all the activities. He mentioned the abortion issue. Now, in Virginia, that made some headlines, but it upset some of his classmates, the governor's classmates from Eastern Medical School. And they got together and they found a yearbook that had a picture of somebody in blackface and somebody in Klan uniform, and they leaked it out to the media. And then the world went crazy. National Democrats were calling for him to resign. State Democrats were calling for him to resign. The Attorney General was calling for him to resign until he realized that he had done the same thing when he was in college. And the Lieutenant Governor came under greater scrutiny because of charges from a woman in California and a woman in, well, I don't know where she is actually in Maryland, but the incidents occurred, sexual incidents occurred in Massachusetts and North Carolina. So even though the calls for him to resign were loud, to have a governor with these charges hanging over him, a new governor walking in that situation, nobody could accept that situation. So, but we became the center of the media world for a couple of weeks there. You could not get down the hall without, they were on both sides. They wanted somebody to make a statement. And I remember we were going from caucus to the Senate floor, and we were in single file, and Bill Stanley was right behind me, and media was saying, Senator, 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 and nobody would respond to him. Stanley, being Stanley, he had to respond to him. And I turned back, and it was like vultures. You could not even see him. They'd already picked his bones. It was that bad. And then Tommy did mention the ERA stunts that two women decided that they were going to be the flag, and if you notice the flag, one of them is not fully dressed, and so she decided that's the way she was going to be. Those type things kind of silly. But we did have a good session. We just did not focus on what was happening. We came up with a budget that really worked, and I think serves people and the community as well. So, going back to the hemp issue, we don't know how that's going to work out. I believe, and that's why I carried the bill on the Senate side, that it's going to be a second crop for those who have been in tobacco. But the focus has been on the oil, the CBD oil. And that's where you can make a lot of money, supposedly. Well, everybody can't make a lot of money. When we were at Virginia State 2 or 3 years ago, Tommy asked the guy from Kentucky, how much money could they make per acre? And the guy says, 0. And we're still at 0. You cannot make any money because there are two products of value. One is the fiber and the other is the oil. Nobody's focused on the fiber right now. Everybody's focused on the oil because it is high dollar issue. If everybody is producing oil, what do you think the price of oil is going to be? And that's the problem. You get a lot of people who are jumping in and going to do that. I think once that phase gets past us, then I think the fiber part, we can build a structure very much like the tobacco structure of warehouses and getting it to the warehouse, getting it to the manufacturers. The goal hopefully will be to get more manufacturers in this region. You can make clothes out of it, you can make building material out of it. There's a company in Indiana that's making side panels for cars. It's extremely tough product, and it will be something for the future. We got to get past this start-stop phase that we're in right now. I've caught grief for some some folks over here talking about being a patron on the Amazon bill. What we did with the Amazon bill, and they said, you took money that would have come for this project or that project. We did not. We will not pay Amazon a penny for incentives until 2024. At that point, for every job they create starting now, for a $150,000 job, we will pay them $22,000 after 2024. So the employee will have had to work for 18 months before all the details are worked out that he actually earned that job or she actually earned that money. And then, so by that time, 18-month period, most of that money will already be in the state treasury on income tax and the items that are bought on sales tax. That's just gravy. But if you think about that, for a 20-year period, Amazon will be paying the state, their employees, over $75 billion. And they will pay over $4 billion in state taxes. And that will serve us well, because Arlington County, the composite index, they put in 20 cents, they put in 80 cents, the state puts in 20 cents. In our area, we are somewhere between 18 and 34, let's just say 25, 26, it's average 25. If our composite index is that, then we put in 25, and the state puts in 75, almost the opposite of what Arlington does. So it will benefit us long term, and there is nothing in that legislation that says that job has to be in Arlington. So if we can do a better job of getting broadband out, then they could live in Crewe, work from their house, probably have an office up there that they would go to once a week or once a month or whatever sequence. And so it can help the entire state. We focused on trying to focus money in our colleges to make sure that young people are taking courses, getting degrees in things that they can make money with a $150,000 job. Right now, depends on what day of the week it was, when Collins was governor, he would say, we need 50,000 more people in cybersecurity, 60,000 more, or something, just whatever number he picked out his head at that particular moment. We are short. We've been short on people who have this, need the skills to work with those high-tech stuff. We have, for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been focused a lot on the hand skills that I passed, so that get the legislation passed on. People that can weld, people with precision machining, people that we desperately need. If you've had to call a plumber, if you've had to call an electrician, you wait for their schedule and you pay what they say. But if we have people that have those skills, then it balances out a lot better. So we're making progress, but there's still a lot of ways to go. And I'll shut up.
Thank you, sir. I want to follow up on
Are
three
you
things.
thinking we can shut up?
No. Thank you, Doctor. I want to follow up on three things, and I'm going to turn it over to council for questions. But let's go right back to the gambling study. You know, we've with our lottery for localities an issue. We're losing money on lottery tickets. And with this JLOC study, it's a perfect opportunity to put that proposal into that study for consideration. I would submit that any gambling that is authorized by the General Assembly needs to have a local payout from a local community. I mean, we're losing money big time. We sell over 2 million tickets a year in the town of Crow. That's a lot of money. We tax that, like we did meals. I mean, that's a nice chunk of change that we get. And if you guys, I don't know, it may be too late to put it in the JLOC study, but if there's some way that you can talk to somebody.
Well, that will not be a separate issue. JLARC is gonna be looking at the entire realm of gambling,
Okay.
because there are concerns. I don't know if anybody's tried to open any internet cafes around here,
Not here.
but they have in South Boston and South Hill. And luckily, for the most part, the town leadership has said, don't do it, and they backed off. But they've been, if you look around at a lot of convenience stores now, they're getting what are called games of skill, which are essentially games of chance with a different name. Now, and because of a ruling by an attorney at the ABC board, they have ruled that you can have games of skill where alcohol is sold. You have to, and Mecklenburg Sheriff sent one of the deputies down to Bracy to try one, and first pull, he won $100. Now, I don't know where he developed that skill, but to me, that's a game of chance. And that's gonna be hurting you more in the long term than the lottery. The lottery, that would be a battle between the counties and the towns, and you understand that
Well, yeah,
equation.
but the proposal gave the edge to the county, but I mean, that's okay, we're fine, as long as we get our cut. The bottom line is, I mean, it's taking money out of the town of Crew and town crew merchants. And that's where the majority of our other revenues come from, is those meals taxes and sales taxes and things of that nature, as you're well aware in your own situation. If there's anything you can do to at least get them to look at the lottery, other than that, I don't know what we can do other than try to get a referendum, a statewide referendum, and that's
Well,
a major issue.
I'll try to get them to look at it. I tried to put sales tax on lottery tickets,
That'll work.
and no one's got it. Good hearing, because when people added up the dollars, they realized how much money you want. So,
All right.
You make a good point, and I just want to make one comment that people sometimes seem to overlook. The lottery is supposed to be the savior of the state of Virginia as far as the education system and so forth. And gambling creates a lot of problems. And it's just like the sale of alcohol. I wish the Commonwealth, even though it's making money on it, I don't like to see the Commonwealth going further into the business of gambling. You look what happened around places in New Jersey that had the casinos, and you see a lot of glitter and stuff right in that particular area. But you go just a few blocks away, and you see what's breeding, and it's not good for any community. I wouldn't want to live close to it.
Sure.
And so that's just a point that I will make. I'm not really in favor of the lottery that came about. I'm not in favor of expanding gambling or the expansion of the law.
I understand, but if it's gonna happen, I just want us to get
Well,
our cuts
I
on the
mentioned-
taxpayers.
I mentioned.
You wanted to say that, Gary, right?
We can police it.
You brought that point up before. We have talked about it.
Okay.
So far, no avail.
All right, the other thing, I don't know if you noticed, but we got a house across the street that we have to tear down at some point. We've got a lot of houses in town that we need to tear down. For us to tear down a house is an expensive proposition because a lot of them have the old asbestos siding and whatnot, and for the town to do it, it costs much more than if a private citizen did it. Is there some way we can get a waiver to those laws, or is that a federal law for disposal of asbestos and tearing them out?
Well, it's based on the federal law.
Okay.
Your attorney probably can answer that
Okay.
question better than I.
That was just a top of the head question. And the other thing is that we're meeting on April 29th, and I briefed you in the email, but we're meeting on April 29th with the BCBR folks that are expanding their beds down here. And that's gonna put such a demand on us that we are not going to physically be able to provide the water. Ultimately, they are wards of the state. It's gonna require a state solution and state funding. And I mean, we can't reasonably expect to lay a tax increase on the people of the town of Crew to address a state issue.
When they first showed the plans, they talked about that issue, but I have not seen or heard. They're getting water from y'all?
They're water customers. They get water from us at Piedmont Geriatric, at BCBR, and at the prison.
All right, so all of them get it?
All three of
Okay.
them, right. And we'll be discussing the 29th, we're kind of gonna lay out everything and have a meeting of the minds and look at what the options are. But from my perspective, ultimately, it's gonna require state money, not town of Crew money. And well, I'll send you a background paper as soon as we have the meeting, and we can kind of recap what we discussed.
The meeting is with them or?
It's with them, it's with BCBR's, what's her name?
Mickey Jones.
What is her position?
She's the acting director of architecture and engineering services.
Okay, so it's one of their senior level folks, I guess, and we'll figure it out from there.
Just let us know what we need to do. and we'll-
Oh, we will.
May, I think you said it in your first sentence, it's a state issue,
Yes, sir.
and that's something we will stand ready to help with, but it's something the state's gonna have to settle.
Well, it really is,
So-
because, I mean, those guys are from all over. I mean, if you went in there, but maybe a half dozen of them might be from Nottaway, but maybe more, but, I mean, when you look at the numbers of people they house in those three facilities. With that in mind, I'm gonna pass it on to Councilman Reed, Councilman Bowman, Mr. Duffy, Mr. Stinson,
Thank you.
Mr. Knight, Mr. Bailey, Mr. Miskovic.
Just a quick question about the state employee raises. So it's a 2.5% across the board, and then 2.5% merit-based.
That's basic.
And with the merit-based portions, or did the General Assembly allot enough for every state employee, or do state agencies have to decide who gets that 2.5%?
I'm not sure how the new director will do it. No, there's not enough money for everybody to be, because that's not the whole goal of a area. If somebody's a slacker, they should not be getting raised. I'd be having a conversation about being there, but that's a tougher issue. The state employees than the private sector. But, no, they'll have to do some decisions.
And then my other question is, Senator Warner supported or proposed some legislation about, that had to do with grocery stores. And can't remember it exactly offhand. Do you know anything about that? I know that's the federal level. Any similar action at the state
Was
level?
this something with the food deserts?
Correct.
We put some money into that last year or the year before, maybe both. There are communities that do not have good grocery stores, no question about that. But when you let bureaucrats decide retail policy, you get a calendar, simple as that. The first one that was set up in Newport News lasted about 8 or 9 months. The one in Danville, you had a group of veterans who were based in Charleston, South Carolina. And they're working with the food value shoppers or something, and they've done a good job. But they went into what had been a grocery store. I'm not sure that I would consider it a desert, but they did. When they showed me the first map of the desert, it is in Mecklenburg County, which is a great, massive area for the food desert. Well, part of that was Occoneechee State Park. A lot of it was farmland. You're not going to change that equation. If there is a need for a grocery store in a community, that's that can be worked out, but generally the private sector does a better job of it than government.
And
I
I
used to
think,
be in the grocery business, and I can tell you, there's a need for a grocery store, one's gonna come, if there's not, one can't survive. And, you know, just, it's a good idea, people deserve a place where they can shop for nutritional food, but the government alone can't solve that problem. And through, grants and things of that nature, they can help, but they can't actually get into the business of providing grocery stores for areas that need them. There's a whole lot of places, Cumberland County doesn't have a grocery store.
One of the proposals, as an example, is that they were talking about buying refrigeration equipment and putting it in the store. And I explained to them that that will not work. You put it in there, but if the lettuce goes bad, if the carrots wilt, they're not gonna buy them back. And then they will put beer there. And they just could not understand that concept. They just thought people would, if the refrigeration was there, the storekeeper would just keep losing money by putting fresh vegetables in. It just won't happen. A nice thought, but it won't happen.
well, thank you both for coming in. I do appreciate how you come each year, and give us all an update.
I want to add one thing if I could. I told y'all last year that I was working along with my colleague on getting the High Ridge Trail State Park into Burkeville, and would help us tie into the county. I was asked by the Department of Conservation and Recreation this past session to put in legislation that would allow High Ridge Trail State Park to accept gifts, donations, and so forth. And that's what it's going to require. There'll be some land to get in to Burkeville. And I'm not speaking on behalf of anybody, but I think that they're perfectly ready and willing to do what's necessary to get that.
They have, the town of Burkeville has got land for a parking lot. I mean, it's several acres sitting there right there, so they're ready, willing, and able to give that up. We're just waiting for them to.
That's what I'm talking about. But the legislation has to be approved allowing
Yes.
High Ridge Trail State Park to accept that.
Was that approved?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
It's a long story to that. It passed the House, it got over to the Senate, and some way got lost, and then the governor sent it back down for us to approve in veto session. So it's definitely in there.
All right, good, perfect, because that's a critical part of our tourism infrastructure, as you well aware. One last thing, broadband. You mentioned broadband. What's the prognosis for this area? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, whenever I speak to it, I put my foot in my mouth. It's, no provider who lives up to what they say they're gonna do. I talked to somebody this morning in Danville who bought the company called Gamewood, which is in that area, and they're also in King and Queen County, and that company got $32 million federal money to grow in North Carolina and Virginia. So where they go, I don't know. He started telling me, and I thought he was talking about counties, but he was talking about census blocks. And so.
Who was your Gamewood contact, do you recall?
It's Carter. His name is Robert Taylor.
Robert Taylor? Can I get a copy of that?
I'll give you the phone number.
Sure, that'll work.
434-792-2253.
All right, 2253.
And it's Robert Taylor with no period between them at myriverstreet.net.
MyRiverStreet.net.
That is the name of the company, is River Street. Mecklenburg Electric is doing some hardwiring. Their this River, what did I say, River Works, River Street, is talking about hardwiring. But several counties got grants to do through the air Wi-Fi. I don't, but they have not fulfilled the obligation that we think they made to us.
Okay.
They're just moving slower than any of us would like.
You know, as important an item as this is, it shows how difficult it is to get it solved. What it would mean to the school children, what it would mean to people who want to operate a business from home, and from industry that wants to locate into the area. And it kind of compare it to the days before the election co-ops. It's if there's not enough people for business to make money on, it's very difficult to have a solution. But it's something we have to find a solution for. Everybody says they want to find a solution. And it's going to come a lot, what Frank is talking about, through grants and things of that nature. But it's very difficult to solve this problem when you have people not in the high density. And so it's something we're very well aware of. And people who have it take it for granted. The ones who don't have it, they just pull their hair.
Yes, sir.
One thing that Microsoft is trying is, they're right outside Boynton, 100, 200 yards, whatever. And they weren't happy that the town that their post office was in, box was in, had nothing. So they worked with the satellite company, put receivers in several locations in Boynton. And they are allowing people 2 hours of internet a day for free. So that probably will set the stage for somebody to come in and really give it full time.
We've actually been in touch with them.
Good. And they announced last week that they would do that in Clarksville. Only problem, they're gonna do it downtown where nobody lives.
For the tourists.
That's right, good tourists.
All right, gentlemen, on behalf of myself and members of the Crew Town Council, we want to thank you both for coming. We want to thank you for giving us an update. We want to thank you for your representation on our behalf, particularly on the
Thank
gaming.
us for the lottery money.
On the
Okay.
gaming issue.
Thank y'all for the job you do.
And thank you
Y'all
for
take
your
care.
service.
Take care.
Thank you.
Good evening.
All right, next up, we have Baxter Stigall, candidate for Nottaway County Commonwealth's Attorney. Mr. Stigall, thank you for coming, sir.
Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen of council, members of the public, thank you. I apologize, I wasn't here last month. I had hernia surgery the Friday before the meeting, and I was chomping at the bit to get over here, and Kelly's like, oh, no, sit on the couch for a little while. So, that's why I'm here this month. I want to thank you guys for letting me come and speak with you. Like the mayor said, my name is Baxter Stigall, and I'm running for Nottaway County Commonwealth's Attorney in the open election this November. I'm currently the Assistant Commonwealth's Attorney in Lunenburg, just next door, where I work for Robert Clement. I'm married to my wonderful wife, Kelly, and I have 2 fantastic kids. I've been a resident of Southside, Virginia for 21, going on 22 years, and I've lived in Crew now for almost a decade. I came to this area by way of going to Hampton City College, where I majored in history. While there, I served on the Prince Edward Volunteer Rescue Squad and the Hampton City Volunteer Fire Department. I also joined the National Guard as a freshman in college. And after I graduated in 2004, I got deployed for a year as a combat arms soldier to Iraq. I returned home, started a family, and began my career in law enforcement with the Farmville Police Department. While there, I served in patrol and on the SWAT team. And then I came here to Crew, where I work for you guys. While here, I served in patrol as a criminal investigator, and I was assigned to the Virginia State Police Nottaway, the Virginia State Police Narcotics Task Force for Nottaway County. Narcotics, Nottaway, kind of mixed up in my head there, where I was a narcotics detective. In that role, I worked closely with all agencies in Nottaway law enforcement, and I worked side by side with other officers to show that drug dealers, that they are not welcome in our county. After several years of working on the front lines, I decided that I wanted to pursue working in law enforcement from a different angle. I went to law school on the GI Bill, and I commuted for 3 years from my house in Tennessee to Liberty Law School in Lynchburg. During that time, I put 176,000 miles on my car for my daily commute. I stayed late, I worked hard, and I graduated magna cum laude, 5th in my class out of an original 90. A lot better than my time in Hampton City. During my tenure as a law student, I interned with the Lynchburg City Public Defender's Office, where I gained valuable courtroom experience. I took the bar exam, passed, and found work close to home with Mr. Clement in Lunenburg. I hit the ground running. In my first month on the job, I began taking felony cases, and I have worked very closely with him on just about every single serious case that's come through our door. I have been involved with prosecuting robberies, rapes, shootings, homicides. We got a homicide jury trial next month. Drug crimes, crimes against children. I manage the entire general district docket, as well as portions of the juvenile and domestic relations docket and the circuit court docket. I've developed a concrete platform on which I'm running, and have the following 3 priorities at the top of the list. My first priority in office is the prosecution of violent crime. We must hold murderers, rapists, child abusers, and violent offenders accountable. If I'm elected to this office, I can promise you that the safety of our community will be of the utmost importance. I believe in putting our people first. I make no secret that I will continue to go after drug dealers in this county from the courtroom, just as I did as an officer. Drug addiction is a disease. It's a complex issue. We've heard a little bit about it before. It not only destroys the lives of those who use the drugs, but it rips apart the families. It brings down our property values and tears away the small town safety that we love and appreciate in our community. I believe that the way that we fix this is to go after the dealers, the ones bringing the poison into our community. We need to show the people of this county that the only place where the drug dealers are welcome is around the corner on Shoot Road. I will take a tough stance on felony property crime. We in Nottoway work hard for what we have. My wife and I are both residents and small business owners. I believe in protecting the assets that our residents have worked hard to earn. Anyone who tries to take that away should be prosecuted and held accountable. We here in Nottoway have a troubling communication gap between the current leadership of the Commonwealth Attorney's Office and law enforcement. I've heard for a very long time about the strain between these agencies, and from officers firsthand how unapproachable, uncooperative, and unreachable the current office is. I want to fix that problem. I've worked in court with Leanne, and I think she's a competent attorney. I consider her a friend. She's capable of prosecuting cases successfully. I simply disagree with the style of leadership in response to law enforcement. This is merely a difference between us in policy and prioritization. This office needs to be actively in open communication with our law enforcement whenever they need them. Currently, that's not how it's done. My policy platform comes from years of being on the front lines of crime scenes, knowing the importance of building solid, strong cases from the beginning in the pursuit of justice for our citizens. If I earn your vote in November, I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work for you. I will put an attorney from that office on the scene of every serious crime that happens in our county. I will establish an on-call system to make an attorney available 24/7 to assist our officers with any other legal questions they may have by telephone. They'll be required to respond on scene to all violent felonies and serious crime scenes. Be available by phone at other times whenever needed by the hardworking officers. Every officer in Lunenburg has my personal cell phone number. You can ask my wife. They certainly use it. I get calls at 2 a.m. on a regular basis, and I'm happy to take them. We just had a shooting last night right outside of Blackstone. We've had 3 more shootings here in Crewe within the last 6 months or so, including one that paralyzed a man. Not one of these has rated an on-scene response by the current office. If I were in office, I would have personally gone on scene. This is how I've been doing it, and I want to do it here to better serve each and every one of you. In the beginning, officers take the lead on the scene and in the investigation, with the Commonwealth's attorney serving as backup for legal assistance. And then, when they bring cases to my desk, the roles switch. The Commonwealth's attorney's office takes the lead, and our police provide support in the courtroom. Things work better when we work together. And that's what I want to offer to Nottoway. Stronger cases lead to better protection for you, our citizens, and a safer Nottoway County. Nottoway citizens deserve a united front from all of their law enforcement agencies in the fight against crime to keep our community safe. I know what it takes in the streets, and I know what it takes in the courtroom. And if I'm elected, I will ensure that my office picks up the phone and answers the call. You deserve to have your elected officials working for you 24/7, not just 9 to 5. I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to my message. I've enjoyed the opportunity to speak with you, and I encourage any and all questions. I'll gladly speak with folks after the event, and I welcome you to like our Facebook page and follow us along in the campaign. I look forward to the opportunity to earn your vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chagall, for coming. Any questions? Mr. Abel, any questions? Mr. Knight?
No, thank you for coming.
Mr. Bowden? Mr. Reed?
Thanks for coming.
Yes, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir, for coming. Thank you for your statement. You may want to give a copy of your remarks to Mr. Gunner. It's kind of hard. I remember in the days when it was hard to keep up sometimes when people were talking.
Yes, sir.
And good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Miss Daphne Morton, who will talk to us about the 100-mile yard sale.
Yes. I am not the general. I am standing in for the general, we call her, Jerry Morton. As most of you know, some of you may not, Jerry's husband Ken, who was so instrumental in helping her with this event, passed away in January. And since then, Jerry has had 2 surgeries. So she has tapped me in to help with the crew area, and we're getting several other coordinators. We're real pleased that Blackstone is finally getting on board this year, and they have a coordinator. So I just come to you on Jerry's behalf. Jerry wants to let you know that she will be back in commission next month, and she does plan to be involved, highly involved in this event. It is her brainchild. We are celebrating the 11th year of the 100-mile yard sale. And a lot of people still snicker about it, but I know you all don't, because that brings in about $100,000 in revenue in this area that one day. So how many, 70-some-year-old?
travelers?
Oh, last year, we were trying to track just how many people came to like my area while I was selling where they were selling, because I was on vacation last year. It was like 4,000 or 5,000 came to our one spot.
Just one spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and she got that from, if you'll go out on Facebook and look up the Route 11 yard crawl, it's a big sale up there from Newmarket to Strasburg, and they attract 15,000 or 20,000 people.
Okay.
So,
We're probably doing the same now.
we could, it's just gotta get a little more organized, and Jerry, I'm not putting off on her at all. She's one woman. She really needs some help now, and we're looking at down the road, this becoming like a community, the chambers or whatever, working together to make it bigger and get it away from just her. She spends, these brochures I'm holding, she spends $1,200 for her own money every year to do these. She does not get reimbursed. She does it because she wants to. But how many people in our community would do that? Yeah. So I'm just coming to you, giving you well notice. It's 3 months away. We're gonna need our usual police support, and cones and things. VDOT is pretty hard to deal with now, because it's not that they're being hard to deal with, it's the funding part of it. They don't have the signs anymore that we use. We get our own cones and put out at, we call it the hot spots, areas that have a lot of traffic. We have to get the big signs now, and we just can't afford it, the $250 a day to use them. And the only funds she gets are the spoilers that are on the back, and that's what she uses, the funding from that she uses all over, from Chase City to Blackstone to Amelia, to put flyers out and to put ads in newspapers and that kind of thing. We are going to utilize the new My Town event calendar. That's a good tool. And so I'm just coming to you to say be prepared. We're going to need safety, and if you know of people that we can promote areas to have people set up, vendors set up, that would be great. I know there is a question on liability, and my fear is I have seen 2 accidents at a spot where I was setting up about 2 years ago. There have been accidents that day because people aren't paying attention. That's why we really need some signage, and maybe if the town could go that route with us, that each end of town have the big VDOT sign saying caution, slow traffic, or something like that. I'm afraid that because Jerry is the coordinator of the whole shebang, that she may get sued if somebody hits her. We do have a lot of signs up. I know I sell at Strawberry a lot, parking lot sometimes, and we put signs up, you know, shop at your own risk, that kind of thing. But, and it is a yard sale. Most folks that are really into this know about all that, but you never know. So, and we are gonna follow food rules, and a lot of vendors that set up food and that sort of thing. But just wanted to come and let you be prepared, start talking about it, especially from a safety standpoint. And I'll keep Jerry in mind, and I'm sure before it's over, with, she'll come before you too. She said I'll rock her, but she's still determined.
Good.
Any questions? Billy, yeah, I know Billy's really, he's really instrumental, and he can tell you, you tell him what Burkeville is like that day.
Are they gonna have the hobby house this year?
No, no, aren't you happy? It is like, it's insane in Burkeville, it's back up to the bypass coming all the way around.
Burkeville's ground zero.
Yeah, yeah, it's called the Hub.
So it's cheap.
Ground zero.
Which used to
The
be
chief
safe
used to
to
have
say it was 3,000 or 4,000 people at least.
I got a Japanese rifle captured on Iwo Jima during that yard sale, right?
And
The chief had a full head of hair 11 years ago before this all started.
And we are promoting on our websites and in informational, we are not going to allow, and we will call the police if we find anybody selling guns. We did find somebody last year trying to sell guns. You can't do that. And we're not gonna allow that if we
Why
become
can't
aware.
Background
Sell
checks.
guns. Not with our background check.
Any comment, questions? Questions?
Thank y'all.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I will tell you, since the start of the past several years, this has been one of our busiest days of the year as far as sales. So if y'all need another name to go on the back, come see us because,
Thank you, we appreciate it.
yeah, it's very instrumental on economic impact in the town.
How big of a spike do you get? 30% more?
I'm saying more.
They sell out.
50%?
I know Big T triple orders and they sell out. every
Yeah,
time.
I mean, we
Okay.
get some yard sale folks coming in.
And
And
it
it starts
isn't
early
just-
in the morning and it goes all day
And
long.
just the 4th of July weekend traffic, because this time it's
Yeah.
going to be on the 6th.
Well, see,
It's just
Fourth
the
of
people
July
who
boosted
work.
some, because you have the travelers coming through. But, yeah, it's a big draw for the area.
We have people from out of state coming now. We have people,
Big T,
they sell out every year.
good, that's,
Yeah. Valero, it's a madhouse.
Yeah, I
yeah.
add to my staff on this day.
And I'm just promoting crew. Now, there's people that promote Cambridge and Victoria and on that way and Amelia. And it's a good track between each one. There's no way you can cover the whole area in a day. And that's the next question. A lot of people are starting to ask us, can they set up on Fridays? And we told them, that's up to you. But most people are starting to set up on Friday afternoons now.
Okay.
So, appreciate it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Have a good day. Are there any other delegations from the public or citizens' comment? Ms. Yates?
I don't know if you brought it up while I was out, but didn't you ask me if I'm with Chamber, I'm the Chamber President, that they have double coverage from our police department, instead of having one officer on duty, perhaps have two on that day. So they asked me to bring it forward, so I'm bringing it forward.
Look into it.
Okay, and I have one other. As Chamber President, I've received more than a handful of questions about the debris and garbage around town and areas that need to be cleaned up. One rather extensive email that I received, but I've had more than a handful of people ask, what's being done about that? And I said, I don't know, I'm the Chamber President, I'll bring it to the town council meeting. So that's what I'm doing.
Can I have a copy of that email?
Sure, I looked for it before I came tonight, and I'll make sure I get that one. But I have other emails, but they were just short and sweet. This one was a little bit more
Write them all.
long. Okay.
Just, if you can print them out, or just put them in a PDF and send them to me. and
Sure.
we'll
Well, you could
follow up.
also just have them on the website, all of our emails are on there, they can email us.
That's true. Thank you, ma'am.
We do have cleanup on, what is it, April 22nd? April 22nd. The week of April 22nd, they pick up anything except for tires and paint cans, correct?
And building supplies.
And we plan on advertising that and saying this is the last chance, otherwise you're gonna have to haul it off yourself.
You pick up 2 dressers?
We can actually put that on our chamber website now.
That would probably
That's
help.
up and running well. And put it on Facebook. I think we could put it on our Facebook page and on our website, because that's active and really running pretty good now. Okay?
We always emphasize this cleanup, and I don't think people realize, first of all, you as citizens and taxpayers, we pick up stuff and we take it to the dump, and we dump it. They weigh our trucks and we pay for it. Nothing's free, y'all know that. So it's an opportunity for people to take care of this issue without going through the motions of me writing you a letter and telling you you've got X amount of time to clean your property up. If you don't do it, we're gonna go in and do it, and then we're gonna bill you based on what it cost us to put men and equipment out there. If they don't pay that, then we're gonna look at other avenues to get that money. Tessie and I have been discussing this for quite some time. We're getting ready to get strict on this stuff because it's getting out of hand. And it's gonna be, y'all are gonna all hear about it. So it's time for it to be done. We try to give people the benefit of the doubt, give them time. We talk to them. I know one particular place, I've sent police by there twice. I said, just go by there and talk to them, and just let them know that they need to do something. Well, it's not working, so we're gonna have to go in another direction. It is a top priority.
Okay?
Well, I'll say this for another time.
All right. Any other delegations from the public? Seeing none, we'll now move to the consent calendar. Madam Secretary. Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Can you make sure she has your name?
I am Sandra Pettis. My husband and I own the property at 306 Rockcastle Avenue. I'm glad you mentioned the website. We have been in I think, sort of like a forever transition. We're moving back to Crewe from Maryland. And as a
Welcome
business,
home.
Yeah.
was my husband's home.
Yeah.
Whenever I've worked in a number of communities around the country, I always try to find out what's going on so that I'm aware of what are the top issues in the town, and of course, the citizens, how we can get involved. And one of the biggest challenges for me is finding information about the town of Crewe.
Yes, ma'am.
The website is seriously out of date.
Yes, ma'am.
The Facebook, information on the Facebook page is out of date, so I was surprised when you said, go to the website, because we post that information, I'm like, okay,
Our
where,
emails are on there. That's-
Yeah, emails
Okay.
on it.
where are they? Because I can't find them. And I did go log on today, and it looks like it's in the process of being updated. So I'd like to know, is there a regular schedule when that information is posted? Who's responsible for updating information? Because it's critical that we as a town sort of present a good digital face to the rest of the community, as we've heard our representatives talk about the need to get more business, more jobs, all of those things. So as a business owner, I would be trying to search out what information I can find on the community before I even start doing some deep digging in terms of pulling out data. So I think it's important that we need to prioritize it. I think initially my husband and I went to get some information. We had to go to bug poor Jennifer over there.
Tiffany.
Tiffany, I'm
That's
sorry.
okay.
To try to get some information out of her, get the minutes of the meetings and stuff like that. And it was just a challenge. So I'm saying we need to prioritize that in some way if we can. And make sure that we're posting information on a regular basis and that it's current.
Where do you post the video?
Yeah.
So if I can speak to all this,
This is Mr.
That's our man.
Hi.
He's our-
we are in the process of updating our website. There were some issues and we had to redo the entire thing, and I actually spent several hours yesterday starting to redo it all. The first piece that I focused on was the stay informed section. So if you go to towncrew.com, and I encourage everyone to go and look at our new website, and click on stay informed. And you just scroll down, it has all the information on the departments, the mayor, council, And then there's a section called Transparency, Freedom of Information Act, information on the meetings. We will be posting information on the budget as soon as I bother Tiffany and get that from her. Ordinances, they're all available online through Municode, and there's a link right there, and information on voting. I started posting some of the past meeting minutes and recordings, or the recordings. I still have to go back and post minutes. But several, in the meetings that have been recorded that aren't currently online, aren't currently linked from our website, are still on our YouTube page, youtube.com/towncrew. So you can search through there. When I have another Sunday morning to work on it a little bit more, I'll be working on the other sections, the Experience Crew section, which will have some of the tourism and visiting crew information. And then the Get Involved section, which will have more of the things for residents and businesses, all of that information. So it's a work in progress.
Okay, and not to add to your work burden,
Sure.
have you given any consideration to expansion of social media? Because as you know, the town has a Facebook page, but everybody doesn't have a Facebook account.
Right.
So Twitter, you can Twitter or
So
Instagram.
I wouldn't know how much Twitter is utilized in Nottaway County.
Mr. Muskovich, in his defense, has tried to promote Twitter for us. That is not something that we are equipped to do, it is not something we have the manpower to do, and we're not quite sure it would even benefit us. That's more of a DC politician thing, for or, you know, people in that
I only
world.
mention it because it doesn't require that you have an account.
Yes, ma'am.
So, you know, those people who are not tech savvy, who don't wanna go online and sign up for Facebook.
Yes, ma'am.
It's
I
a way of getting
don't do
information.
Facebook myself, so
Okay.
my wife's on it.
I think just an overall communications plan, or communications aspect, especially with our next iteration of the comprehensive plan, might be something worth looking into. But it's, these changes have to be incremental in order for them to take hold and for it to be sustainable. If we try everything all at once, then it lasts for a week and then no one looks at it again.
With that in mind, though, with your business background, I would introduce you to Mrs. Yates, who is the president of the Chamber of Commerce, and she can.
I'd like to add something, I'm gonna give you the card so you can contact me. But with this being said and what you just mentioned, the chamber is, it's new to me, I've only been the chamber president for 3 months now, so bear with me. And I'm a computer idiot. However, we have a wonderful lady that is in our chamber that is not a computer idiot, she's very well versed, Kathy Kingery. And we are really promoting the website, and we have the ability to link into Twitter, Instagram, all of those, and we're reaching out to our members to do just that. So that is something that we are beginning to push now. And we're gonna start an active Facebook page and start presenting our businesses every week, and there's some things that are moving ahead that we're pretty pleased with. I think Phil will be pleased, because he sees me drag my feet a lot when it comes to the internet, but we're making a lot of changes in that way. So you might wanna talk to me. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Pettis. Mr. Pettis, welcome home.
Thank you.
All right, any other delegate? Yes, sir.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, because maybe you're going to speak on it, but I get a little bit of Luckstone update, where we are, how we coming along with that project.
It's done deal, I mean, they're working, go ahead, you got something?
Yes, I'll be glad to update. Everything has been done, all the formal approvals have taken place. The only thing we're waiting for is the actual formal closing of it, which means, you know, signing the formal documents and everything, exchanging hands and being recorded at the courthouse. And that will be, before the end of the month.
Okay.
I guess, I don't want to rattle on, but I guess my question was, I guess that will come next, which will be policies and procedures as far as being able to hold them accountable for what they're doing and make sure that our water and all continue to remain clean. And some of the other problems that question that other people
All
were
of
concerned
those were part of the plan, that was part of the negotiation.
Okay.
Up to the get-go, all of that was laid out.
Okay,
They're required by state and federal law
Okay.
to see to the things that everyone that was concerned about. Frankly, I think it was a lot of over-concern, because, and I understand their point of view of those that didn't want it, but at the same time, there's federal and state laws that really dictate that those
Right,
things have to be
right, right.
addressed.
my concern was who's following up to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Well, part of that's on us, but part of that will also be a joint committee. Once Luckstone gets established, they intend to have a citizens committee of
Okay.
folks in that area,
Okay.
neighbors primarily, so that they can get their feedback. And this is basically a forum where the neighbors can say, well, I heard a boom, or I felt a shake, or I've got a crack in my foundation. Now, the other piece of that is that if you are concerned about it, when they do establish, you go to them and they will advertise for folks to do foundation studies. And they will come to your house and they'll do a study of your foundation. You're living in town, so you're not gonna have to worry about the water, because that comes from Crystal Lake. All right, it's not gonna be well water. But the foundation piece, they will come in and examine your foundation and do an exam, and then if something should happen down the road, they have that documentation and they can make a determination or help make a determination. And they don't actually do that. It's a third party that they hire, some unbiased third party that comes in and makes that assessment.
Okay,
And you can request that. In fact, I'm probably going to request one myself.
okay.
And in addition to that, they get inspected by federal and state
Yeah,
regulatory commissions, and, I mean, they're very strict on
It's
it.
one of the more tightly regulated industries out there.
Yeah, it's no more of which a lot of people thought was the old Roadrunner and boom, dynamite. It's not that anymore.
They're electrical charges. They don't shoot out like that.
Yeah.
The electrical charges crumbles it. Basically, it's a shock that crumbles it
Okay.
and it falls.
Yeah, I've been in the quarry in Burkeville when they set it off, and you might feel it and you might not. Not like when I was a kid,
Okay.
when they set them off at Burkeville, it
Yeah,
shake,
you feel it.
shake the pictures off the house.
Okay.
So,
Honestly, you'll probably hear the trains more than you will the quarry.
yeah, but-
They'll wake you up.
Yeah, yeah.
They will, yeah.
Anything else?
That's
Good? Any other delegations, comments? Very good. That in mind, we go on the consent calendar. Matters on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be approved by one motion. Any item can be removed from the calendar at the request of a member of council and may be voted on separately. You have in your packets the minutes of the town council meeting held on 11 March 2019. You have the bill sheet and the additions. Actually, we had no additions, did we?
Yes, we did. Were they not included?
All we got was the
All
front sheet.
we've got is the modified agenda.
No, she didn't have.
The modified agenda.
I'm gonna run to the office and get them,
Okay, well, okay.
because I need them to be approved. I've gotta
Yeah,
pay
right.
them.
We'll go ahead and approve these and we'll do another vote for that then.
Okay,
All right.
I'll be right
With that
back.
in mind, you have the minutes of the town council meeting and the bill sheet. The additions will come later. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes and the bill sheet? We have a motion for Mr. Reed. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second for Ms. Bowen. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. Next is the town manager's report.
Briefly, we talked earlier about the new garbage truck that has arrived. We solicited the 3 local banks for financing, and we received 2 bids. We received a bid from Benchmark. Their bid was 4.16% on a 5-year term. They had no loan fee, $40 UCC lien recording fee, and a $15 DMV fee. Citizens Bank came in at 2.75% with no fee, 60 months financing. So I recommend that we go with Citizens on this and get your approval on that if I can.
All right, we have a recommendation from the town manager that we approve the garbage truck financing through Citizens Bank at 2.75%. Is there any discussion?
I make a motion to approve it.
All right, we have a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Anything else?
Want to just mention that we being Tiffany and I have pretty much buttoned up our part of the budget for now. What we need to do at this point is just let Ann know, as finance chairperson, we get the finance committee together and sit down and go through it and talk about it. We did include the loan payment here for this particular garbage truck, but we did not include, you remember me talking about some upgrade with equipment that we needed at our plants, so we're gonna have to look at that. But for the most part, we've done pretty much all that we think we can do as far as our expenses and revenues, and it's just time to sit down and go through it. Plan would be to probably have something for y'all about the May meeting. May not have to have a vote, we certainly have to have one by the end of June, but at least a review in May, and then we can move forward with a vote in June. Or we can likely do it in May if it's possible. So I'll ask Ann if she'll get with me and the committee at some point. I'm gonna kind of lean on Greg a little bit. I was gonna talk about this Piedmont water meeting. But I noticed in his notes that he's pretty much covered a whole lot of it. And if you want to, Greg, you want to go ahead
Sure, I'll go ahead
and
and
talk
handle
about that?
I'll hit that. Bottom line is, we're having a meeting on April 19th. I misspoke, I said the 29th earlier. It's April 19th, Piedmont Geriatric Hospital, room 29, from 2 to 4 p.m. between town and crew officials and staff and state government employees to discuss the water supply challenge that will be encountered with the growth of the Virginia Center for Behavioral Rehabilitation Unit in Burkeville, or VCBR. The town and crew currently supplies water to that facility, Piedmont Geriatric Hospital, and the prison. The additional growth at VCBR will increase water demands that, by our estimation, cannot physically be supplied by the town and crew. It's not that we don't want to do it, it's just that we're not going to be able to do it. Other options need to be explored. The meeting is to lay out the problem and discuss potential solutions. There may be technical questions raised that our engineer will need to answer. In order to facilitate the discussion, it is recommended that the town engineer attend. I was going to recommend that you authorize funding of about around $850, maybe not, just make it $900, but we already have it in the budget for engineering services. So what I would recommend is we just allow the town manager to take it out of the current budgeted amount. No vote really being needed.
No, go ahead.
Okay? Discussion on that. Very good.
And basically, just so folks understand, our plant operates basically on average 20 hours a day right now, or during peak months, May through, let's say September. Any addition is gonna put us in a position where you can't, if you don't have any more hours in the day, you can't operate. And you say, well, that leaves some room. 4 hours is really not much when you have to have downtime. You have to shut the plant down to wash filters. You have a certain amount of downtime, and any increase is going to cause a problem. And the numbers that we're hearing initially at the end of December is probably would not be an issue, but long term when they're full on board, we just don't think we'll be able to supply the water.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this with them for a couple of years now, because since we found out this was coming. And I don't know, we just didn't seem to get anybody's attention, but now I think they decided to sit down and talk about it, and they need to, because if they think they're gonna go somewhere else and find water, that's possible. But you're talking anywhere from 5 to 7 years, if they started tomorrow, to build a new plant somewhere and find another source, so that's just not gonna happen. In my mind, the solution is to upgrade our plant and probably dredge Crystal Lake so that we have, because upgrading the plant and no water supply doesn't do any good. So those are the two issues in my mind, and I think that's what we're going to try to push for, and as the mayor said earlier, they should pay for it.
It's a state, these
Yeah.
are state wards, these are not wards of the town crew.
So,
Do I remember correctly that originally there was X number of bids, and we said we could probably support that, and then that number went up?
yeah, double, it at least double.
Yeah, to a number that we.
Plus, they've
can't.
added.
And that was before, we never told them at all that we could support that type of demand, right?
They really have not said anything to us about anything. They have the prison, because the prison's a big user, they use all the water. The prison handles the sewer for everything up there and Berkeley. And they've already allocated like a $1.3 million for sewer plant upgrade. So it's not like they don't know that they're gonna have to make some changes, and we do too. So we're just at that point, and, you know, I don't know where it's gonna head, push comes shove, we have to take care of the citizens of town crew first.
Yeah.
So at some point, and I hope it doesn't come to this, we say, you've gotta find another source, and we just have to deal with it that way. I don't want it to happen
Well,
by no
Not to
means.
sound,
what would happen though is this, if we had to cut them off and we no longer had them as a customer, the debt that we have for the improvements would be reconstructed with the state.
well, we wouldn't probably cut them off completely, we would just say, we can handle X amount, and then anything over and above that, you figure it out, right?
Now, they're they're talking about making some changes, particularly in the prison, where they're gonna do some more savings, but, my folks are telling me, the operators, that, in the trenches, there's no way we can keep up. So, it's an important issue. I think, I will mention spring cleanup, but that's been talked about, and I think that's it.
Okay. Anything else? Town attorney's report.
Yes, thank you. I had already talked about where we are with Luxton, and the answer to that is we're really just, at this point, finalizing things. There's nothing else that council needs to do. It'll just be the mayor signing the documents on behalf of the town, and I'll be getting with you about that.
Ready, willing, and able whenever
Correct.
you need me to finish that.
Yes, thank you. The other thing I've been doing is, Wade and I had a long conversation the other day about some legal things we're gonna start looking into with the town in terms of derelict buildings, and also, with the yard and the nuisance ordinance as well.
If you can give us a checklist, that would be greatly appreciated.
I've got one.
I'll personally execute that checklist.
Yes, I've got it. I can give it to you. And that's really all I have, so go UVA. I had to say.
Thank you, ma'am. We now have the additions to the bill sheet. If you will review it, I'll entertain a motion to approve the addition.
I move that we approve the bill sheet addition.
Mr. Reed? Mr. Knight? Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Thank you. Okay, items B and C are informational. We move to committee reports, finance committee, Ms. Spencer.
Looking forward to working on the budget.
Personnel committee, Mr. Reed.
I don't have a report unless department head has a report, Lee. I don't have a personnel committee report unless you have a report.
Very good. Community development, Ms. Bowen.
The only thing I have is I did obtain a copy of the Blackstone building safe inspection.
Right.
And that's something we can go over and discuss at a later date. And then also too, I have offered my services to go around and put the letters on the doors of all of the houses that need a good cleanup, warning them about the 22nd, the week of the 22nd. So they can make me some copies and I'll go put them on some doors.
All right. We do not have a plan on a potential chicken festival, right? Yeah, okay.
We got shelter and electrical
Okay.
concerns
How much shelter do you need, other than for the band?
for the band and some public shelter in case of a rain. shower, on shade issues.
Okay, okay. All right, well, let's get all that in writing so we can submit it to council and give everybody an opportunity to
Also, I need to get with fire department and see if they'd be willing to,
sponsor it.
be a part of
Okay, all right, good. Okay. Continuing business, we earlier read the ordinance on church bells. Do we have a,
Mayor, move that we approve the ordinance on church bells.
all right, Mr. Miskovic has moved to approve. Second. Second by Mr. Abel. Any further discussion?
it. I thought we did too.
Oh, we voted on church bells already.
No, we voted on, we just had the ordinance. All right, so we have a motion to approve. We have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Motion carries. New business, we have in our packet a professional planning services consultant request for proposal. Mr. Miskovic, if you wish to speak to it, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll recall at the last meeting, I suggested that we, look at hiring someone to help us with a capital improvement. The scope of services, would include educating town leadership on the CIP process and benefits, taking inventory of existing capital assets, evaluating previously approved, unimplemented, or incomplete projects, assess financial capacity, solicit, compile, and evaluate new project requests, prioritize projects, develop a financing plan, assist town leadership in adopting capital improvement program, train town staff on how to monitor and manage approved projects within the CIP, and train town staff on how to update existing ongoing capital programs. It's pretty self-explanatory. We had some discussions about who to send it to, or who to specifically send it to, Davenport or Hurton Profit. I was actually having lunch today with Michelle Gowdy, the executive director of VML, and she reminded me that VML's insurance or financing program also does this kind of services.
Oh,
So it certainly places to a.
will that be free as a member? I mean, as we're members of it?
Probably not. It's probably one of their additional services.
Okay. Get a lot less.
So you're asking that we pay somebody to give us a proposal, right? Because nobody, I don't think anybody's gonna do this.
No, I'm saying that we ask them to submit a request. Or, I'm sorry, this is our, ask them to submit a proposal.
They'll submit
They'll,
it.
they'll submit a proposal and then we decide which one. It's like a bidding process.
Got you. I think some of the stuff that you asked for, like, just say you send it to Davenport and Company, I don't think they're allowed to provide written references from clients. I think it's illegal for them to do that. I know I can't provide a written testimony from a client to somebody else. That's illegal for me to do.
Okay, well, we can certainly,
But I'm still not, I
Strike
don't
that.
understand what the outcome is.
They could have government references.
What are we trying to get them to do?
create a capital improvement plan for us. So we can understand where we are in terms of capital assets and how to finance it in the future. Because currently we're going on a case-by-case basis. Something breaks, we have to then figure out how to pay for it. This would establish a long-term, short-term and a long-term strategy for constantly updating and ensuring that the rates that we charge for water, sewer, things like that are equitable and can pay for this.
Personally, I would like to take a look more over this than we have time, and I just got it before the meeting. And, do some research myself before I vote on anything.
No, I agree. We can table it.
Sure.
But on the same token, if somebody wants to give us a proposal and we don't have to pay them to do so.
No, we don't have to pay them.
I'll
Yeah, we don't have to pay them for
I'll look at whatever
proposal.
proposal they
Yeah.
wanna give us,
Yeah,
cause we, you
I'll
know,
look at anything free.
basically.
I mean, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they sell us, show us what they can
Yeah.
do, and if we think there's a value add, then I guess we go forward.
Yeah, if they want our business or wanna,
No,
they can
that's
sell us
how-
on it.
That's how it works.
Yeah, but they can sell it, they can sell us on
All right, can VML post it? Is there do they have a site where they post,
I can
these
ask.
things?
can certainly ask.
Okay. Seemed to me that's one of their, that's one of the things that they do. Now, like if you wanted to hire certain town managers or police chiefs, you can go to certain.
Right.
And.
And I'm not tied to, I'm not wed to any of this wording, I can go back through and ensure that, and, you know, talk with, actually, there's another thing I have under new business that will help me craft better wording.
Right, and if they're dealing with public money, they gotta have that as a reference.
Right, exactly.
Public, not private.
Right, this was taken from some other locality and reworded for our benefit.
Okay. All right, so,
So are we good with moving forward with the RFP?
Pre-proposal?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, okay.
Yeah,
So
let's do that, I think, and let them put the proposal out there, and then we'll see if it's beneficial for us.
All right, so we're gonna send it to, our current engineers, we'll send it to Davenport, we'll send it to VML, and, anybody else, I guess, that we think
Right.
can provide that service.
Perfect, thank you.
All right? Do you do that, or do you want the town manager to do it? Actually, yeah, it'll be your role, right? Yeah, okay. All right, with that in mind, is there any other new business?
Yes, Mayor. What I just mentioned, so I've recently become aware of a service provided by the Virginia Institute of Government, of which we are not currently a member. And that service is basically a listserv.
What?
A listserv. So it's, let me pull it up so I tell you. Email Broadcasting Information Service, which means if we have a question, say if we want a request for proposal, or we have a question about ordinances, how to craft an ordinance, or any other thing that we don't know, that we want to know, we send this information to the individual who runs it, Ted Popar, who then takes the question, takes out any identifying information, and broadcasts it out to all of the Virginia Institute of Government members. And within a day or several days, they'll send back, we could get one or several responses on those other services. So it's basically an information sharing among members. And I've been told that it's a great benefit. The cost for dues for the Institute of Government ranges anywhere from $250,000 to $20,000, depending on. Well, let me finish. Depending on depending on population and such. For us, the cost would be, bear with me while I pull that back up, $250 per year. They also mentioned that it's on a fiscal year basis. If we wanted to try it out just for one fiscal year, they'll prorate it, so it would cost us $62.50 to try it out and see how we like it for the remainder of the fiscal year. So I would ask for $62.50 to join the Virginia Institute of Government for the remainder.
That's from now to July the 1st.
Correct, yes. And what we'll use as a case study is this RFP, and send it out and see if we can get back anything and see how responsive it is, and so $62.50.
Okay, Councilman Miskovic has made a motion that council authorize $62.50 for a temporary membership dues to the Virginia Institute of Government.
Based out of UVA, but we won't hold that against them.
Based out of UVA,
I'll second his motion.
all right, Mr. Reed makes the second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by like sign. Motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the only other thing, if you would all send me your bios, I have your bio, I have your bio. Bios for the website and photos.
I thought we did that already.
Can we pick up?
We
on
did, it's,
My name's
My high school
James.
graduate.
well, the problem is, they're, The old website is no longer available. What I can pull up from archives has 2 councils ago.
Very well.
And
You've got
thank,
mine.
I've got yours.
Okay.
thank you for all your hard work on this.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. All right, with that in mind, we'll move on to points of personal privilege. Mr. Miskovic.
Nothing from, I did have a piece of continuing business. I just wanted to check on the old hotel. Did we talk with the other event about that?
Yes.
And are they,
No,
okay,
there's no update.
okay,
The building inspectors talked to them, I've talked to them, it's pretty much in limbo right now.
and,
Does the bank own it?
Kind of.
Kind of questionable.
Okay.
Is he still occupying the building?
Yes, I think so.
can we have it fixed at town expense and then put a lien on the property?
$90,000.
We need to do something,
$90,000.
and then we put a lien on the property and,
Building ain't worth 90,000.
Could we get a second opinion on what it really, I mean, I'm still, well, I don't know, but I know the front part is where the car crashed in. If that were taken off, would the whole building really collapse?
I don't think so.
If I may offer just a brief suggestion, and that would be, I have to go to Natalie in the morning to do something else anyway. If I can get the information, at least on who the former owner was and the tax parcel number, I'll do a quick current title search, because as far as I'm concerned, that really affects our response to the building. Because, you know, we could do the self-help where the town goes in and fixes it, but if it is an owner that has the financial resources to fix it, for example, if the bank does own it, then another option could be filing a warrant in debt in general district court against the bank and, you know, assessing civil penalties. And basically, we can assess civil penalties and we can ask the judge for an order that orders that person to clean it up.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Can we move forward with that?
Yes.
We haven't done title search?
Yeah, we would need to do a title.
But see, what I understood about this building was a gentleman that Farmville owned the building. He has passed away, and he willed this building, this gentleman that's in it now.
Yeah.
From what I understand, he don't want to take any ownership of it, for some reason what it's gonna cost to fix it up.
So it's likely that the bank does not own it.
The bank,
They have a mortgage.
they got a mortgage against it.
And he's defaulted on that mortgage, correct?
Yes.
I don't know.
That was
It's
not-
complicated.
Well, I say we just let her do the title search regardless.
Yeah,
Right, and then,
and get aggressive on,
exactly, that,
we need to get very aggressive on that.
That's my point.
We can be aggressive, but if we end up having to pay for taking that building down, you're gonna wish we hadn't. I'll just have to tell you that right now, because it's asbestos in it. You're gonna put $92,000 in a building to fix it? Gotta think about it, is all I'm telling you.
All right,
And
so
then-
basically the movement, the action is to do the title search, find out who owns it first. That's the main thing. Who do we have action against? So that we're not authorizing any money.
Would you mind just emailing me that? Or I'll call you in the morning when I'm on that.
And then my only other last piece of continuing business with the homecoming. Have we spoken with the fire department to see if they have someone who can serve as a CSP?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That'll work.
All right,
Thank you.
good deal. Now we move on to points of personal privilege. Mr. Miskovic?
No.
Mr. Abel?
Do have one. I drive into Burkeville, crew from Burkeville lunches. As you come into town, they cleaned all the drop boxes on the east end of town. You go to the west end of town, just about every one of them, on the right-hand side of the road, are clogged up, and you got enough sand in there from all of the snow removal and stuff. You could put a playground out there with
Just go down to West Carolina and we'll see.
Yeah. I think it needs to be cleaned up, needs,
It's an eyesore.
We'll ask the town manager to contact NDOT
Again,
again,
Yeah.
so that actually is
they're
done.
not gonna do it.
You want me to send them a letter?
They're not gonna do it.
They've already done it.
They said.
I saw them doing the right side, I never saw them do the left.
It's several drop box up there, and has debris and everything on top of it.
Yeah, they came down, I was driving between here and Pickett that day, they did the right side, they never come up the left.
Yeah.
Cause they'd have been in the way, to going the other way and stuff.
If you have a problem, I do get them do anything in Burkeville, would hurt.
Okay.
Do like I used to, go out there with a shovel myself and do it.
I'll
Getting too
I'll
old.
try to drive around this week with them, so. Mr. Knight, Ms. Stinson,
April 10th at the community center at 6 o'clock. Susan, help me, what's it called?
Oh my gosh, it's the better,
It's a
business,
small,
business community is, Martin Short is giving he's giving a talk. I mean, he's talking and presenting some ideas for small businesses. It would be, it sounds like it's really good. I've heard great things
Okay,
about
what
what he
time?
does. 6 o'clock at the community center. You
Light
can look it up
refreshments.
on the Chamber's website. It's all Chevrolet on it.
thank you. Mr. Duffy,
Wade, I know you got a lot on your plate, don't, but the two alleys, which one of them's my road to my house and the one just before the American Legion. I know they're listed as alleys, but all 5 or 6 of those houses come out on that road. Can you get, with my road, south side might be the one that takes care of it. But with Art, with the one before the Legion Club, I think that's all. Can we, just make sure that they're drivable for the folks? We got somebody to grade ours, we just need a little stone. So,
So will we,
huh?
so will we,
Yeah.
$130 a load there. Yeah, we'll look at it.
Tell them about us a little bit in advance.
Yeah, yeah.
Ms. Bowen.
Same deal, he brought up the alleys, that one that we went down.
Yes.
Where nobody has any driveway access.
Yeah.
Right there,
We fixed it.
you fixed that? Okay.
Well,
And,
we went in there and did something, I'm not sure what.
gotcha. And, I would like to give our Congresswoman a shout out, Abigail Spanberger, came and threw out the first pitch at the opening ceremonies. And, it's the first time we've ever had a congressional person in the town do.
Did anyone document that? We should have that documented on video.
Well, he was good.
We got pictures.
Oh, picture?
Did you get my picture with it?
No, but I think that was done, yes. But, and then also to go, who's?
Okay, Mr. Reed.
No privilege.
All right, with that in mind, return to the public comment portion. Any public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Always. Wendy, in regards to you going door to door or whatever, okay, the wash bucket initiative, we've been talking about helping with some cleanup, so if you need our help, we would be more than willing to work with you on that, and we've got access to some kind of a huge 14-foot trailer, or I don't know, and a truck to be able to haul stuff.
What I was gonna do is just put the notes on the houses about the cleanup, so they know about.
Well, you might want to write in there that they can even have a helping hand with the cleanup, okay, because we're more than willing to go in there and help make that happen.
Gotcha.
And then secondly, about that the hotel, has anybody investigated, historical grants? I mean, that building will definitely qualify for historical grants.
They're
And I
hard
know
to come by.
Well, I'm told that they're not as hard to come by as they say. Are they? You would know.
Well, I went through the Department of Historic Resources, and it was a bit of a goat road, frankly, and this was a while back, so maybe things have changed. But the owner would have to initiate that, not the town.
Well, could the Wash Bucket Initiative, couldn't we?
I don't know. You would have to go to the Virginia Department of Historic Resources website and see if a third party could do that on behalf of the owner.
Okay, because this is something we've talked about at the Wash Bucket, is, and we actually have somebody that's thinking of joining us now that actually knows how to write grants. So we may have that in our hand. but it would be such a shame to see that building disappear because it's so historical,
Yes, ma'am.
in my opinion.
All right, thank you.
Always have on time.
And I did want to just bring up, if anyone has children, the fire department is having a lunch with the Easter Bunny on Saturday. So come out for lunch with the Easter Bunny.
On Saturday?
The Easter Bunny's sitting in this room.
What's the date on that,
Back
Phil?
off of, what young lady just said, if there were, an accident of some sort, who would be liable, would the town or the owner be liable?
The owner, unless it's on town property.
Will we consider the street town property?
Actually, it's VDOT property.
The sidewalk.
On Main Street,
Yeah.
Phil?
But I'm speaking of the sidewalk. Sidewalks that the VDOT?
Yes.
I'll put it.
They have a right of way. Now, they don't like to claim that right of way, but that is actually their right of way. And they're responsible for making stuff keep.
And from a health standpoint, I noticed that there's a lot of pigeons beginning to nest in there now. So not only do we have a safety, but we have a health care there as well for those pigeons.
And we will use that. Trust me, we will use that when the time comes.
Okay.
But this has been an ongoing issue, and we're trying to get it addressed. We've got several others, there's one right across the road here, that really needs to come down way past due. All right, any other public comment? With that, yes, sir.
Just a quick question, the April 19th meeting,
Yes, sir.
is that open to the public?
Technically, it probably is,
Okay.
because it involves public employees and public officials.
Okay.
And I know wherever you have more than 2 public officials in a meeting, then it's a public meeting.
Thank
Okay. All right. With that in mind, it's 10 minutes before game time on the Final Four.
Move to adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn, we have a second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carried.